Yeah, I don't really have a much of a plan, but
Just a casual check.
yeah, I'll give a brief intro, I guess, for the viewers. I mean, this is Marco Osborne. We're chilling at his house. We just went for a rip.
Yeah.
And we did a podcast earlier in the year before the season. So just kind of wanted to follow up and just talk shop about the racing season, how it went for you.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the first question. How'd the racing season go for you? How do you feel about it?
It's good. First of all, thanks for coming by and come and ride with me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's tough to get my friends to come ride with me. So, yeah, stoked on that. And, stoked to have a little chat. Season was awesome. Probably one of my best seasons I've had to date. One of my best, I would say. So, pretty proud of it. Definitely stoked on just consistency and showing some strong World Cup results again, and just kind of being in the mix and like proving to myself that I can be back in that mix. And it was awesome. Just finished up down in Mexico, survived that crazy debacle of a race and that just crazy experience. And it's been nice, like just chilling out the last week, just knowing kind of like, damn, we've been kind of on it nonstop for the past, 5-6 months. And stoked to make it. Definitely had like a little injury in the middle of the season, but was able to bounce back pretty quick. And hit one of my biggest goals kind of my career was to make it to World Champs, and was able to make it and perform and have a good result there, and just kind of enjoy the experience and the opportunity to represent USA. And so it was kind of like cherry on top. And then to take the win down to Mexico was also just it was just awesome.
Sick. On
a new bike that I kind of just jumped on.
Yeah.
So man, season was good. Just kind of stoked on continuing calling this a job and just kind of putting everything I have into it, and just kind of enjoying all the adventure.
Yeah. I mean, this being like, this was kind of like a comeback season-ish, like your first full season back at like the world level. Like on the other end of that, is there just like, being that you kind of checked a lot of boxes and like had good results, is that just like a nervous system relief? Like kind of, are you at the point where you're kind of taking a deep breath and like you kind of feel like you got this and like you're in a good spot?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I knew that was like kind of the potential I've had, and I've done that before, but I didn't know like that I'd be able to kind of like jump back into that kind of pace and that atmosphere, and be able to kind of just like settle into it and be kind of be there. I feel like it's still kind of just, I don't know, winding down as far as like knowing that the season's over in a sense. But it's good relief, but also I think in a whole, not so much about like results wise and like placings. It's just like good to, finish out a solid year without having too many big injuries. Like, I had a, pretty big slam in the beginning of the summer, but I was able to kind of recollect and bounce back. So I feel like I was able to finish strong.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm mostly proud of, is just being able to, start in February racing and then, make it to October and be proud of my results and my adventures, and be in one piece, and, be able to look back on, the accomplishments and, just all the adventure, and just be fortunate for the opportunity to keep doing it.
Yeah. You've been doing this for a while now. Like, at the end of this season, like, is there anything like you learned, took away from how you approach racing, what you're doing on the track? Like, I mean, it's a constant learning process. So is there anything like new that popped up for you this season?
definitely this last winter, I just took my training kind of to the next level, or at least just really tried to focus on just focusing on being an athlete instead of trying to juggle other hobbies or other side jobs. Like literally just wanted to focus on being an athlete and just try to get as fit and strong as possible, and just like really try to focus in on bikes and preparing my body for a race season, and for everything, that I'm going to throw at it in the next couple months. So I feel like the approach changed a little bit, a bit more like serious mentality, as far as just training and how much gym time I'm going to put in the winter. I used to just kind of do some here and there. I do remember in the past that, the years that I, did put quite a bit of time in the gym, I definitely felt the benefit from it. So this year was definitely like, okay, now is the time to kind of put the foot on the gas and just kind of, let's see what I can do. Let's try to throw everything at it, do the best I can, and try not to leave any kind of spaces left unmarked. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that. As far as racing wise, nothing too different really. Just kind of once you kind of get into it and get a couple races under your belt, and you're like, you just need to like trust yourself and trust your pace, and not try to find a new pace during the season. You just kind of have to trust that what you've built, and what that speed and pace you have is that's what's going to work, and that's what's going to get you where you need to be and to the end of the season. So yeah, just try to be consistent and just enjoy the time on the bike, I think, is the most important.
Yeah. And when you were feeling good on the bike, like when you had a good run, did that correlate to kind of like where you expected to be in the results sheet?
It's always hard to know, especially at the
Yeah.
World Cup. Sometimes you'll have like a decent run, mistakes, or just doesn't feel like, it just feels okay. And it could be, an amazing result, or at least just consistent in the top 20 or so. But I would definitely say I was very surprised in Poland, like after the first couple stages. I was getting my bike kind of tuned up at the theory pit with Nick Bean, and he was like, "Do you want to know results?" I was like, I don't really look at results during the race. I don't bring my phone." He was like, "Dude, you're in sixth," and I was just kind of like blown away. So it wasn't like I finished one of those stages and knew like,
Yeah.
oh, I
That's a
could
heater,
be I could be a top 10 time. It was just like, go put in your laps, go ride, and just got to keep checking them off. Do one stage, just get through each stage and see where you're at. And so yeah, definitely. Sometimes you definitely have that kind of feeling in the back of your head, like in a run. But then at that point, I feel like those never really pan out. You're like
you can
almost
like check out of that moment.
You need to kind of just stay in that like zone, in that flow state, and just like not worry about like maybe how good or how clean you're riding.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always hard to gauge, because it's real easy just to get your ass kicked too.
Yeah,
So you gotta like, just go as hard as you can, and every stage you just don't really know where you're at. A lot of people like checking results, but
Is that kind of your
Yeah.
protocol? Like, if you can help it, you're not at every race. You're not really plugging into results until the end.
yeah, like it doesn't really matter for me, like
Yeah.
how my first three stages are in time. Like it only maybe adds to the stress of the event. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather just do what I can and see how it shakes out, at the end, because like it's cumulative time, so it doesn't matter how well you do the first three stages or whatever.
Yeah. And then
You just need to be complete. So I don't know. It's definitely motivating sometimes when you're on pace and you're having a good race. So you can maybe just not like kind of push too far or whatever, but just kind of be smooth and just try to get through each stage. But Yeah, a lot of the events you kind of know the results. Like people are talking about it, or at
Yeah,
least,
it's hard to avoid.
yeah, yeah.
Would you say that's like, are you an outlier in that at the World Cup races, or are other people kind of on a similar program?
As far as
Like
checking,
checking results.
I say it's mixed. Yeah,
Yeah.
some people don't check.
Yeah.
Some people are like on their phone at the bottom of the stage,
Refreshing.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, everyone's got their own program, but I'm just gonna like, I'm just gonna.
It's just, at
I
a
got
certain
other
point,
stuff to do.
Yeah, it's got to be a distraction.
Yeah,
like,
it for sure
yeah,
is.
but
I mean,
it's also so tempting. But I guess it's like, yeah, just kind of holding like.
it kind of takes the fun of like these events. Like you kind of want to, it's like a big day out. It's physical. It's gnarly, and you want to just try to enjoy it and kind of be in that moment, and not always like focusing on like results based. Like I feel like there's kind of two sides of it. Like yeah, doing well is obviously that's what we're there for, is to, perform and do the best we can, but also like let's try to enjoy this day out in the woods with friends.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's definitely nice to kind of tune out of cell phones for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will actually, if I see someone checking their phone, I'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, how
but-
am I doing? Or they'll be like, do you want to know? So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
chat about it. But yeah, it's always hard to know like if your pace is on or not. But I figured like every kind of round is a little different, but yeah, just strive to have clean runs and go as hard as you can on the pedals, and just try to enjoy it, and just try to learn on each run and use that for the next one. Try to better yourself.
Yeah. Was there a standout event this year for you?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple, but probably the biggest was Stone King Rally.
Yep.
Taking that one home and just surviving the 6 days, and like everyone was literally like a zombie on day 6. Like it was physical. It was tough to make it to the end.
Yeah.
And still be able to push and get into that race mindset. Like our bodies were cooked. And it's definitely an event that I've just been so passionate about getting to the start line.
Yep.
And I've been, running into injuries the last 2 years, so I hadn't been able to go. And this was the last year. So like just being there at the start line and showing up was already a win. And then to like battle it out with the, previous winner, Remain, was like, all right, this is it. Like this guy's won the last 2 years. I battled him in Trans-Provence 4 or 5 years before, and like he was the guy to beat. And so it was cool to have a good race and just be a part of that awesome adventure. So that was definitely a highlight. And then getting a top 10 result in Poland was definitely up there as well.
Yeah.
Because the weekend before, I was able to get a top 20, which I hadn't had a top 20 in maybe, I don't know, not 10 years, but like maybe 5 years. Like I was real close. I think in Whistler, actually, I got a top 20. But it's always like, the level's going up every year. So you're like, can you even get in the top 30 or, maybe top, it's like, it just seemed so hard to get back in that mix, especially in Europe. Like it's one thing in Whistler where North America, I feel like maybe we have a little advantage there, whatever. But yeah, doing it over in Europe, the pace is super high and the field just is so stacked.
It's deep, yeah.
So yeah, to like back up a top 20 the week before, I was just like stoked on that. And then to just somehow just like be fighting in the top 10 and then end up in 10th was insane. I was like, wow, this is where we want to be. This is like what all the hard work is for,
Yeah. Is that one of your better results of your career?
Yep, that was I think my third best finish.
Yeah.
So I had a ninth and an eighth
Yeah.
before. So
Yeah, that's killer. Like,
third,
right
third,
back in
like
there.
you
Yeah.
know, top 10 results. So yeah, definitely proud of that one. And it was just a cool experience to see new country.
Yeah. How was Poland like?
It was awesome. Like
Yeah.
we were kind of like, it wasn't like full in the mountains, but it was like city, suburban, but also like cool, like hills and mountains and like little ski resort surrounding. Yeah, it was awesome. Like trails to just go ride and like the normal trail system, super fun, accessible.
Yep.
People out hiking around in the woods, and yeah, people were nice. Food was affordable, and yeah, it was just a good vibe. There's a lot of people at the race as well, on a Friday for the enduro, and there's just track was just full of people. So
Yeah. And that was
that
like
was pretty cool.
that was like really in the same town as the downhill, right?
Yeah, so like the main like city is here, and then like the enduro trail system was kind of backed up against the city, and then the ski resort where the downhill was about 15 minutes away in like a little kind of valley further outside of the town. So yeah, it was all pretty close. Like
Sick.
if you wanted to, you could
Yeah.
ride over there.
got to watch some sweet
Yeah.
World Cup racing a few times this year.
Yeah, it's honestly my first time ever
Yeah.
watching a downhill World Cup, like getting to walk trackside and qualies and or semis was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Like I've always watched these guys on TV, and,
Yeah.
you know, like to always like wanted to check it out. So it was cool to actually get trackside and get to watch it go down.
Sick.
So pretty eye opening.
Yeah, maybe just I'm interested to hear kind of like how you kind of went through the injury and kind of bounced back from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe just take us how that all went for you.
Yeah, so right after Stone King, 6-day event, there was 3 days. There was 3 days of pretty much rest before World Cup practice. So it was about
That's still pretty gnarly. That's
four days after the biggest race of the season, going straight into a World Cup. So I was cooked. I was like, I was ready for the challenge, but I was definitely feeling fatigued.
Yeah.
And just, not quite riding the way I should have been at a World Cup. So, yeah, I got through practice, and yeah, just stage one, just pretty much like overcooked a section and flew off the trail and just had pretty much a big slam and pretty serious like head knock, and pretty much as soon as I hit the ground, I pretty much don't remember like for like 30, 40 minutes after, but I've, been told that I got to the finish line, I have a time. So I must have like, whatever happened there, like I just went offline for a second,
Yeah.
got up, finished the stage, and then everyone was like, just made me sit down and chill. But yeah, after that, I obviously just came straight home after that, and wasn't gonna like push it for the next couple Europe rounds.
Were you planning to come back after that, or
No, I was planning on staying for Mega Avalanche the next
Oh,
week,
yeah.
and then
That
the
was like-
Swiss round.
that was like the big block? That
Yeah.
was like the savage Europe.
Yeah, and of course I bit off a little bit more than I could chew, but yeah, so I missed those 2 rounds, in Mega Avalanche. But yeah, honestly, it was like, man, that was a gnarly, head slam. I've never I don't remember at least blacking out like that. Like I wasn't unconscious, but I was blacked out.
Yeah.
But honestly, I got home and, I was feeling pretty good. I wasn't feeling too destroyed, and yeah, just started working with my physio and concussion specialist here in Truckee, and I've been through this before with him, and I was very confident that I'd be able to get through it. It's always an unknown of how long that's going to take, that
Yeah.
process. So yeah, I just trusted that process and, feeling pretty, pretty poorly, pretty shitty for a couple weeks. I was just hanging out right here on the couch and it was 100 degrees out. So I
Yeah.
don't have AC here. So I would just go over to the river and just chill out. But, yeah, I was probably 2-3 weeks. I was starting to, spin on the XC bike and get things moving, just slowly progress. And I was talking to Robert, my, physio, and I was like, why do I not feel that bad right now after this big slam? Like that
Yeah.
slam was gnarly. He was like, well, it's because all the work we've done in the past to go in and clear out all the old scar tissue that's been built up from prior concussions. So you're at zero, you're at that baseline already. So you're not getting all this, miscommunication going on in there. So I was like, this is crazy shit, but like, I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it probably took about a month until I was, back riding trail and actually able to kind of feel like myself. Went up to Bellingham, got to do a little media camp for the new Sentinel,
Nice.
and was still I wasn't feeling 100% during that, but I was like, using it kind of as training and, great opportunity to be a part of that, those projects and, be a part of the brand there. And just slowly kind of trust the process and kind of get through it. And after that media camp in Bellingham, pretty much came home and packed up for an archery hunt out in Nevada. So I was definitely fired up on that. Like my main goal after, after getting the concussion was like, I want to be fit enough and healthy enough so I can go spend time in the mountains. Like I've already had a crazy race season. Like, you know what I mean? It's not over yet, but like, I've done a lot right already and I just want to be healthy and fit enough so I can go spend time chasing bucks in the desert. So that was my goal. And I was able to get out there and feel good at high elevation and
Nice.
it's pretty wild too. And definitely, going through that concussion, process of trying to get back, to health, I wasn't sure if I would be able to make the last World Cup and World Champs. And, that was only a month and a half away or a month away.
Yeah.
And I still hadn't committed because I wasn't feeling like I was in World Cup shape. I wasn't feeling like I'm ready to race mentally, physically, just wasn't quite there yet. And a good thing, this really valuable thing Robert was saying was you can't plan for the future on how you feel today. You have to look at that goal and you want to you don't want to miss out on these opportunities. So, plan for it like you're going to be healthy. Don't miss out on these things based off how you feel a month ago or, how you feel a month before it. So, it's such a mental battle on committing to it, and, I was able to just continue to progress through archery, that hunt. And then I went over to pretty much started this big, long 6-week adventure. Drove over to Jackson Hole, did that race to kind of dust the cobwebs off and check out, the Montana Enduro over there, which was pretty damn cool. I think that was one of the best events I did this year in the States.
Sick.
Got to ride off the tram.
Yep.
3 days in a row. And
badass.
And bikes don't go on the tram. So this is the once a year kind of bikes on the tram thing.
Yeah.
So 4,000 foot drop. So right after that, flew to Europe for the last World Cup in France, and then World Champs. And then when I flew back, my car was in, Montana. So I was in Montana and did a archery elk hunt there.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, successful race year, but also, yeah, very successful hunting year as well already. So,
yeah.
yeah, man, it's been good.
I mean, I feel like that's like a massive accomplishment, like getting a archery elk, or like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think anything archery is like, it's the highest challenge for
Yeah,
hunting, you know?
yeah. I mean, yeah. What was that process like? I mean, I think you touched on it a little bit, but it seemed like kind of a up and down, bit of a battle. I mean, I think anything like that is gonna be, but like, yeah, how was going through that process, and then yeah, coming back with that elk? Like, I guess where does where does that rank, and like kind of, what you're chasing these days?
I'd say that's that's like a win. Like that's the goal, right?
Yeah,
Is to like fill a tag with your bow, you
yeah,
know? And it's not like as much like pressure as say like the archery mule deer hunt in Nevada where that's just one tag for a month. This archery elk hunt, if I didn't get it with my bow, I can go back in November and hunt it with my rifle. So you have like this long season.
yeah,
But obviously, I prefer hunting with a bow, and it's just more exciting and more challenging, and you get way closer. It's way more like intimate with the animals and nature, and so yeah, of course, I want to. That's my big goal. I know it's possible. I did it a couple years before, but wasn't really the best scenario. So obviously, every time you want to kind of like you want to do everything right and make it perfect, good shot, everything. You want to be perfect when you're doing all these different steps. So, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was just being out there and able to spend time with my brother and his wife, Wesley, and Hazel, their, daughter. We had a cool little camp set up, and Nelson and I went up into the backcountry for, was it 4 nights? And so just spending time with them was kind of you know, kind of a win in itself. We had a bunch of crazy opportunities, but never got any shots off that trip. And they ended up going back home and going back to work. And I kind of started making my way back home, but wanted to keep hunting because I had a couple more weeks before going to Mexico. So I was kind of like, we were been hunting the thick timber and in the rut where the elk are talking and they're in their mating season. So we were able to get on a bunch of animals, but it was just hard to get one to come in. And so I was going to kind of go and play to my strengths of like spot and stalk, like kind of what I've learned in Nevada from archery hunting mule deer. More spot and stalk, which means using your binoculars a bit more and going for more open country and trying to see them before they see you, or that way you can make a play. So yeah, I was in full on like desert style country, kind of like felt like Nevada, felt
yeah.
like what I've been training for that. And yeah, a bunch of cool encounters on this herd of elk for like probably 3 different days. I was getting in real close on these elk and couldn't quite make it happen, and ended up having this whole herd come at me, and I ended up taking a shot and missing this herd bull, this nice 6-point. And I wasn't able to get a range, but I ended up just, taking a shot. I guessed it at 40 yards, and it was probably 30, 35. So I shot right over it. And it just felt like the last 2 weeks, that was the opportunity I'd been waiting for, working towards, like getting up at 5:30, 6 a.m. every day, just like spending all your time on the mountain for this one goal, and then you just fucking blow it. And yeah, it's tough. And at that point, I'd been on the road for for 5 weeks. I hadn't been home in a long time, so I was like, man, I'm getting pretty worn out here, mentally, physically, all of it. Ended up calling Wild Bill, a buddy in Oregon, and he's like, dude, you got at least 4 or 5 more days in you. You got to stick it out. He's like, he's like, just stay in them, dude. And I was like, all right, he got me fired up. So, yeah, I just kind of kept doing my thing, just trying to find them and get a good play, and trying to watch them in the morning and wait till they bed down and then put in a stalk on them. But it was tough because they were all still in a herd, so there was 10 to 30 elk at a time that you're trying to get real close to. So it's tough, crawling through sagebrush and really have to be stealthy. So yeah, I ended up finding this small herd and got a good play and was able to get within 65 yards and full open country, like just grass and sagebrush, middle of the day.
Whoa.
Like just crazy. Like had to like crawl through sagebrush and just, yeah, get real stealthy on them. But yeah, it all worked out like the way I planned it, and just the wind was right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because they can smell you coming, right?
oh yeah,
So,
you got to get the wind perfect.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they can smell you from hundreds of yards away if it's going at them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got to get the wind right and go real slow. And yeah, made it happen. And yeah, it just almost feels surreal when that moment does happen,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was stoked. It was pretty brutal pack out. I ended up getting him out in 2 trips, which was a little bit aggressive. I probably should have done 3.
Yeah.
The second load was way too heavy.
You're just like, I'm getting it all.
Yeah, like the first load I took that night. I didn't get back to the truck till like
How far
10.
was it?
It's like 4 miles, the first one. It was
Yeah.
like kind of uphill and then flat and up, because I was kind of down in this hole. And then ended up going back the next day, and it was still September, so it was pretty mild, kind of warm temps.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I needed to get the meat out of there as soon as possible. So I wanted to get it out and get it as soon as possible, get it on ice.
Yeah.
I had to hang 2 game bags in a tree so the predators didn't get it that night. And so I had my bow and my spotting scope and all my gear from the day before, because the night before I didn't take any of it with me.
Mm-hmm.
I just pretty much hauled it out of there, just as much meat as I could, and then left all my gear for the next round.
Yeah.
So it all added up, and you got the skull and everything. And so yeah, I was like, hike 20 yards, rest, hike 20 yards, rest, like 120 plus pounds on my back. Like it was tough. But
Yeah, gnarly.
it was only 3.5 miles that trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, once you're in it, you're just like, once that pack's on your back and you know what you need to do, you need to get your ass to your car, and it's simple, right?
Yeah.
You just got to suffer. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough mentally, physically. I think like my lower back was all cut up just from being so heavy. But yeah, at that point it was time to go home and get fired up on Mexico and getting my new bike set up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's the new Sentinel been?
It's been awesome. It's been very different than, the platform that I've been on, the Spire.
Yeah.
A bit more well-rounded and not quite as, forgiving in the rough sections. You definitely feel the trail a bit more. It's more of a trail bike, enduro bike. But where it shines is like changing direction and just being very agile. And for still a pretty big, long bike, like it whips around turns so effortlessly. And I feel like that's kind of what I've missed, just that effortless feel of just like being able to play on trail. The Spire takes a lot of energy to get it where you want to go, a lot of rider input. So it's definitely a trade-off. It's kind of cool. Like the Spire is definitely way more planted and composed when it gets rough and super gnarly, got a little bit more travel and a little bit more supple suspension platform. So there's trade-offs, but I think I was kind of ready and excited to just try the Sentinel again in this new platform. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
It just feels more of a well-rounded kind of like adventure mountain bike. Yeah, a lot of traction and just effortlessly changes directions like super well. So
Nice.
I think for blind racing, that's super
what you
important
want.
because you're you're always trying to read the trail, and you're just always having to make, quick adjustments or directional changes very quickly because you don't know where the heck you're going. So I think it's definitely a good bike for that.
Yeah. I mean, you're ripping on it today.
Yeah,
Like,
it goes well.
Yeah.
And I was a little nervous taking it to Mexico because those tracks are just so long and just so demanding. Like,
really?
people that have never been there are just like, oh yeah, it sounds cool, it sounds good, you're right. Like, but they are the longest, most fun, most demanding trails that I've ridden, and I think it's a pretty eye-opening place. Like all the Europeans that come there, the Gehrig twins, Dan Wolf, Greg Callahan just came down this year, and they were just like, "Holy shit, this is the real deal!"
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, this is it. This is enduro, right? These are 15-minute downhill
Really?
tracks. Yeah, I mean, they're not downhill tracks, but they're
15-minute stages.
yeah,
That go
3,000
downhill.
foot drops each, and you're hauling ass. You're doing a little bit of every type of terrain, and yeah, they're awesome. And some of the tracks get real rough and gnarly. So I was a little hesitant on the different, the new Sentinel, the different platform coming from the Spire, but it handles great. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to win the race in those sections anyways.
Yeah. It's like,
But
yeah, you could go a half mile an hour faster
Yeah.
in a 28 mile an hour section, or you can,
yeah.
get one current turn sweet in a tight switchback, and
Yeah.
you can double your speed.
And I think that's where the
Yeah.
bike shines, is like the turns. And I realized racing, you're making time in the turns,
Yeah.
and
It's everything.
over time just building.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's been super fun.
Are you kind of at that point where you're making that decision, kind of sussing out both the bikes for next year?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely would like to do some kind of back-to-back runs and on different styles of terrain,
Yeah.
and also get more time on the Sentinel. Like, I only
Yeah.
have like 3 weeks on it now, 3.5, 4. So maybe get a little bit more time on that, and maybe just try some different suspension setups and maybe some, different tunes, or at least try some things out and see. But as of right now, it's definitely up in the air. I
Yeah.
think for some World Cup rounds, I'll definitely be like, yeah, I'll take the Sentinel. Like finale in Poland, I think the Sentinel will be good. TDS, the Sentinel will go really
yeah.
well.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of quick directional changes. I think it'll go really well there. So, yeah, definitely. It's tough when you got two really cool bikes to choose from, but
Yeah.
maybe if I go back over to Europe for a big block of racing, maybe I'll just bring both of them, and just that way I have spares, and
Yeah,
I have
right.
the option
Totally.
to test it out. But yeah, it's definitely a debate now.
Yeah, it's a good problem to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, it's a good bike.
Cool. Yeah, what's the plan for the off season? Are you changing the approach, or kind of just gonna copy and paste what you did last year?
I'm pretty much gonna, kind of similar to last year. Really focus on spending some good time in the gym and doing some structured gym training, and then just staying consistent as
Yeah.
far as getting on the bike and making sure the skills are sharp, and just getting more time on the bike is what I want to strive for. Definitely gonna still have some fun this winter. Like, got some more hunting planned the next 3 months, so fired up on that. And then I think I'm gonna actually just keep racing. Got a race in
Yeah?
January, so
What's the January one?
the Andes Pacifico.
Yeah, sick.
So yeah, pretty much same program. Just
Sweet.
hit it full on and see what we can do next year.
Badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your read on the World Cup scene for next year? I've been pretty out of the loop.
Yeah, it seems pretty similar. It looks like e-bikes are going away next year. And World Champs are scheduled, so
Yeah.
that's going to be awesome. As far as rumors and things, it definitely sounds like some teams are going to be kind of taking a step back. So maybe there's not as many pro-level teams in the pits, but that's kind of all I've heard of. As far as the venues that they've released are all classic,
Yeah.
legit, World Cup venues. It's all Europe, but I mean,
It's what it is. It's
what
it's
it
what it
usually
is.
is.
It's
If
like
they could sprinkle Whistler in there or a couple U.S. rounds, that'd be cool. Or go back to South America, and
yeah.
they're kind of losing that adventure side of the World Cup, which that sucks. We had that adventure when we had it. Maybe that's not there anymore. But at the end of the day, this is the World Cup racing, and it's there, and it's a series. And so, if you want to be a part of it, then
That's where it is.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like it's just got to generate more for the teams and the organizations. It's like if they're going to go to these places, it's like if it seems like it's like, with the teams pulling out, it's like even as it is, it's like barely feasible or like hardly makes sense. So it's like, but like you said, it's like, man, it's supposed to be World Series.
Right.
Or, I mean, I guess that's what it used to be called, but, World Cup still.
Yeah, it's World Cup. It's just all the rounds are in Europe, so
Yeah.
it's not quite the
Hopefully
travel World Cup.
we're going to rebound into
Yeah.
that eventually. Like, God, I was so bummed to miss the season that had, like, 3 North American rounds.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, so many riders out here really benefited from that. Like, had good results. Like,
Yeah, Colton got he got a top 10, and that really kind of boosted his name. And
yep, Max.
Yeah. So I think it's important for them to go over, come back to the States or go new places. But if you look at the schedule, it's they're all really cool places. So not really sure what's going to happen there, but I know I'm going to try to get to the start line to as many as I can. So
yeah, do you think you're going to try and bite off the whole season?
We'll see. Definitely, it seems doable where you could go over there for a month or two and get most of them done. Mm-hmm. It's just tough. It's like it's like hard to just do one or two and then like come home and do others. I mean, I don't know. I feel like to start to do well and just kind of, it's nice to get into that rhythm and that atmosphere and like start, getting a bunch of them under your belt and just stay consistent with them. And might as well, like, I'm not getting any younger, these are the years I think I have a lot of potential to do well. And I have the drive and the energy for it and the desire to get out there and try to do the best I can and see what I can do. So I think there's more potential out there.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I do too, man. Well, sick. Anything else you want to chat about?
That's good. I feel like, there's always stuff to ramble on about. But yeah, that was good.
That's about all I had for you.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Good luck next season.
Come visit again. Let's keep riding.
We'll have to hit more trails.
Oh, yeah.
Only checked one off the list, so.
Campeón. How cool that belt is.
Yeah.
These are probably my 2 favorite trophies of the season.
Yeah, hold that up.
First, archery mule deer and winning
the belt.